Nikki.
Sorry, hello.
3 days, what was it, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, we were sitting in the office in Sweden, and now we're back in the house in Annapolis. Feels like we time traveled.
You got your excellent jumper on.
Please describe the setting, actually. Describe my amazing jumper, as you put it, sweatshirt.
I told
hoodie.
Andy he would really belong in like some sort of hippie music festival crossed with like, I don't know, a kid's playground. It's kind of Andy's wearing a tie-dye, multicolored rainbow, like accentuated pink hoodie. Hooded jumper, and it says "I am Kenuff" on the front of it. Andy, give us some context.
It's the sweatshirt from the Barbie movie that Ryan Gosling's wearing towards the end of the movie.
And what exactly about that jumper did like really draw you in?
The colors. Literally, Nikki, I went to see the movie in the theater. I mean, I was late. I saw it only 2 weeks ago in the theater in Norway with Clint, and like an hour after the movie ended, I immediately went online, and it was actually a pre-order from Mattel. The sweatshirt, I ordered it, and it arrived at my dad's house just in time for this week. So I was hoping to wear it one day around boat show, but I might be vetoed by the rest of the team.
Do you know what? I would fully support that. Like if a sailor walks around not looking like a sailor, I like that.
Yeah. So you might, if you see the tie-dye pink "I am Kenuff" hoodie, that's me.
It's almost like a two fingers up at like your traditional boat show or like yacht club dress code, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, seriously. Like, also, like, can we sailors have identities beyond just the like stripy shirt and like the freaking scarf and all that, stereotypical stuff?
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, exactly. All right. What we're actually talking about, it's big day today, start of Annapolis Boat Show. So as we record this is Tuesday, it's coming out in 2 days. Annapolis Boat Show starts, but also the big news is our Pacific calendar. We're actually going to the Pacific. You were part of the decision last week in Sweden. What's your thoughts on should 59 North go to the Pacific in 2025, which we are doing, and the calendar, if you're listening to this, is now open. But what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think 59 North is about, exploring, and it's about offshore sailing. And why do we go offshore sailing? And it's to see the world. So you guys have wanted to go to the Pacific ever since I've known you. So I love that you're able to connect to what you really want and make it happen. I think that's inspiring.
You've been through the Panama Canal.
I have.
What's that like? Because in the car ride down here, we're just like, so did we leave enough time for that? What are the logistics? Whatever. I mean, actually, I don't know. So
that's like it's like the actual trip. If you were to just like say, oh, we just motored for a day. I mean, that doesn't sound very exciting. But at the feat of engineering is fascinating, and it really makes you connect with the fact that you're a mariner, because it doesn't matter whether you're a cargo ship, a massive tanker, an oil, whatever you call them, oil carriers or whatever, sailboats, motorboats, everyone's in this same thing. And I think, yeah, that's really, really cool.
I realized like the Pacific's gigantic, and the dream for Mia and I, and this is still the dream, but was ultimately to get all the way to New Zealand. That's where Mia and I met. We've never been there. Wouldn't it be cool to sail there one day? But when you actually start mapping this out, first of all, our season starts in Portugal. So we first got to get across the Atlantic through the canal before we even start the Pacific. We don't have enough time to get all the way to New Zealand with the cyclone seasons. So we're going basically the classic route, Galapagos, Marquesas, Tahiti, and then we're at a turning point. It was like, okay, what do we do for cyclone season? So instead of going south, which we're out of time, we're going to go north to Hawaii, Alaska, and then sort of like second home now, the Pacific Northwest. We're going to be sailing from Alaska down to Victoria and then San Francisco on our women's trip. And I've never sailed in any of those places. So give me a little bit of a preview. What's your favorite thing about the Pacific in general and maybe that part of the world?
Oh, I think that part of the world is just, I think that sailing is it's almost like sailing was part of the culture before roads and cars and traveling by foot. And I think that's why that part of the world's so amazing. So you have this like core connection to the ocean and to traveling by water. So that's what I think you would love. And the people go hand in hand with that. What about you, Andy? What are you most excited about? What trip would you pay for?
What trip would I pay for? That's a good question. I mean, I think for me, it's probably cliched, but I like the Galapagos to Tahiti, that like first long crossing the equator. That's the one, not to Tahiti, Galapagos to Marquesas. That's the one that's like the romantic one. like, so instead of which trip would I pay for, like I get to pick which trips I want to skipper first. So I think I'm going to put my name on that one first. That's probably the one for me, is because you got so many different things. But later in the season, this won't be published. We're going to go to Costa Rica as well. That'll come out sometime early next year. But like I'm interested in that as well, like that part of the world, because like I've actually been to Costa Rica, but never by boat. So I think that's appealing to me too.
There's like major opportunities for 59 North land adventures, I'd say, on this on this calendar.
Well, we have some crew, like we have crew from Costa Rica, and like Alejandro, he was talking to me. He sailed with me earlier this summer on Falcon, and like he was telling me all this stuff. It's like, we're definitely coming to Costa Rica. Hook it up, Alejandro. So it's just like the fact that we can even do this, like we can just open up Google Earth and be like, okay, where do we want to go? I've always said that's like the most fun part of my job, is sitting down and mapping out where we're going to go. And it's amazing that we get to do it. It's just so cool.
I remember sitting in this, we were having a meeting last week, and August saying, Andy was asking us all, what do you think about my plan that I've basically already decided, but I have to ask your permission for? And August said, he kind of commented on your eyes lighting up. And I think a good decision is one that makes your eyes light up like that. And I can see how excited you are.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've always, since the very beginning, we've tried to have a mix of going back to the places that we really love, but always finding new places. And 2025 is going to be almost all new places, at least for me. So it's nice to have that little spark again. And also, I talked about too, August said, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's really far away, and management and all this stuff." In a way, like sailing in Greenland this summer has its challenges with the ice and all this stuff. And when I was in Greenland, I was like, God, could I trade for like just an easy trade wind passage? Like in some sense, the sailing's going to be easier to manage because you don't have all these different factors and stuff. So I'm actually looking forward to that. Even though it's going to be harder because it's new places further away, the sailing is, knock on wood, less challenging.
You'll have to get a tie-dye bikini or swimming shorts to go with your jumper.
Yeah, I will. Okay, and now this is a long intro, but boat show stuff. We've got Party Friday night. You can still get tickets for that. All this is at 59-north.com/boat show. You guys are doing the women's happy hour Saturday. Can you still get tickets for that? It's free, actually. Right?
Yep, you can get a free ticket. Just sign up online. Same place on the events tab on the website.
Cool. And the Pacific calendar is now up. Just go to, you'll see it on the homepage, but go to 59-north.com/2025 and all the details are there. I'm looking forward to a fun week at Boat Show, Nikki.
Me too.
Cool. See you next time, gang.
Hey everybody, it's August here. Hope you are doing great. I am bringing you a conversation today from the start of the Ocean Globe Race. If you haven't heard, that is the retro round the world race that celebrates the 50th anniversary of the first ever Whitbread race. Adam Isbjørn and I, we were in Southampton for the start of the race, and Adam and I, we had dinner one day, and a big bearded smile suddenly dropped down at our table, and it was Mark Sinclair, Captain Coconut himself. We shared some tapas and stories for a while, and we thought, hey, we really should get this on tape. So we invited Mark to do a podcast with us over on Isbjørn, and we had a great chat on Mark's past and future adventures. We do go pretty deep on some of the more technical aspects of celestial navigation in this one, which I'm not going to apologize for. To me, the best thing about this race is the fact that it gives these old skills and old boats such a great purpose. So you're welcome. I'm very thankful that Adam was along for this one too. In addition to contributing on the podcast, he also filmed this whole conversation. So if you want to get the full audio visual experience, head over to 59 North's YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button while you're at it. Mark is now aboard his Command, the Explorer, midway between Southampton and Cape Town, and sounds like they're having a pretty good time out there. They are the westernmost boat right now, just across the equator, and they're sailing very close to Brazil at the moment. You can follow his progress on oceangloberace.com along with the rest of the fleet. I am following it quite closely. I think it is very fun to see these old classics in action. All right, please enjoy, and until next time, hold fast.
On the Wind is supported this season by AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I gave AG1 a try because offshore, eating balanced nutritional meals comes secondary to managing the boat, not to mention managing my sleep and seasickness. I drink AG1 as part of my routine in the watch schedule, usually before my first cup of coffee, and it makes me feel confident that I'm getting the nutrition I need no matter how the rest of my day's eating goes. I actually started drinking AG1 years ago as part of my fitness routine ashore before 59 North even existed. But now that I spend a big chunk of my time at sea each year, it's become an even more important part of my routine in order to maintain my overall health while my main focus is required elsewhere on the boat. I can cover all my nutritional bases for the whole day with 1 scoop of AG1 mixed in my water bottle each morning. It tastes great, makes me feel great, and it costs less than $3 a day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/onthewind. That's drinkag1.com/onthewind. Check it out. On the Wind is also supported by our very good friends, back again, Forbes Horton Yachts. We've had a fantastic relationship with Forbes over the years. He's been a friend of mine in Annapolis and a work colleague for many, many years. In fact, since long before 59 North even existed. Forbes is a sailor himself, so he understands boats. He understands offshore sailing especially. He and his wife took a Tartan 34 to the Caribbean and back in the day. And they still sail today on the Chesapeake. If you have a boat that you're looking to buy, whether or not Forbes is listing it, he can be your buyer's broker. Or if it's come time to sell your boat, he can, of course, list it and be your selling broker. Forbes is fun to work with. He's a really great guy, knows his stuff, and is not your typical blowhard broker. So check out ForbesYachts.com. That's FORBES, ForbesYachts.com. And if you're around at the Annapolis Sailboat Show, he will be there at the X Yachts exhibition, which is out on the docks, out by where the Woodwind is, and you can meet us there. We'll announce this later, but a couple times a day we're going to fire the cannon out at Forbes's booth with X Yachts. So go say hi to Forbes if you're at the boat show this year, and if you want to buy or sell your dream boat, check out ForbesYachts.com. Thanks again to Forbes Horton for sponsoring this episode of the podcast.
Welcome to On the Wind, the podcast about offshore sailing. I'm your host, August Sandberg. Mark Sinclair has sailed the seas his entire life, both professionally and as a hobby. He served 20 years in the Royal Australian Navy, commanding 3 ships and navigating 4 at the time when celestial was still the prime means of offshore navigation. He participated in both the 2018 and the 2022 Golden Globe races in his Lello 34 Coconut, and he's now signed up to skipper the Explorer in the fully crewed Ocean Globe race. Welcome aboard Espion, Mark. Thanks for taking the time, and I'm sure you're a busy man these days, but appreciate you coming over and talking to us.
Thanks, August. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And yep, we are busy at the moment, but what do they say? If you've got a job, give it to a busy man. So, and it gets me out of work. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, your first mate Terry seemed kind of pleased to have you sent over here for an hour. So.
Yes, well, I gave him the directive: prepare for sea. So build the boat and prepare for sea.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, no, it's super cool to have you here. Also, really cool to have you here, Adam.
Thanks, August. Yeah, nice to be here and be present for one of these. It's great.
That's right. We're three of us here in Espion, and we're in the middle of the OGR fleet now. Just a couple of days before the before the start. It's a lot of hectic activity going on the docks, and people
in between the parties,
Yeah.
and then
quite a lot of
inspections.
parties as well. That is true. And we asked you yesterday, Mark, if we could do this interview aboard your boat, but you said it would be quite noisy over there at this time.
Yeah.
What is going on over on Explorer right now?
Right. Well, we've got a few food deliveries today. So basically, all the tucker's coming on board and has to be stowed. But that's also getting in the way of a few other activities. So on the upper deck, while we were in the briefing this morning, the guys have put an A-frame up with the 2 spinnaker poles to test our jury rig. So that's going on. And then when I get back, we're going to do a man overboard recovery with a strop and a halyard and all that gear, and to just go through that. And I'm going to be the victim. So
Really?
I'm the crash test dummy. So these things like the jury rig and this, they're not. It's not an exam. It's sort of like it's a practice to make sure everyone can do it. We've got the right leads on the halyards. Things work out. If anyone's got some ideas to do it slightly differently, we can discuss that. So we can get everyone on the same page in a learning experience on the dock before we go to sea. So we've obviously done the 1,500-mile pre-qual and that, but there are a few other things that we need to do. But also, yesterday we serviced the main engine, the generator was serviced the previous day. I'm lucky I'm in the aft cabin with Terry, but we live between the generator and the main engine. So, I haven't been able to get to my bunk for, the last few days. It's been absolute chaos, and I've just had to say, well, that's okay. And but we've got our safety inspection remedial follow-up this afternoon, so I do need to go and find a life jacket and a whistle and a few bits and pieces. But I thought, look, one step at a time. So what we've done is we've basically said, okay, down below, put all your gear away. Down below is embargoed. We're storing food today. Everyone else on the upper deck, put up the A-frame, test the jury rig, man overboard test, hull sticker on the bow. One of them fell off, so we're reapplying that. Plus, we've got spinnaker pole mounts, or we've got 2 spinnaker poles, but we've also got a small staysail pole. We've got to put some mounts on for that, and the list goes on and on and on. Look, I think if you wait until you're fully prepared, you'll never go to sea. So we will cross as much of it off as we can, and then get on with it as we go.
We were chatting to Terry about replacing a hatch, and I was like, "Look, you got some good weather. That Sikaflex will go off while you start the cross the line."
Well, we've got a new hatch coming tomorrow morning, forward hatch. So that's it was 12mm perspex, all bent on a frame and whatever, and basically it's 45 years old and showing signs of crazing, and big hole on the foredeck. So we thought, look, we really should replace that. And but it's sort of happening at the 11th hour. But the Nordor Swan support have been really good, and we've got now 15mm polycarb that's being bent, and so that'll go on tomorrow morning.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So just in time.
Cool. Just in time. Wow. Tell us a little bit about your boat. She's named Explorer. What is she? How old is she? How did you get a hold of her?
Right. Well, Explorer is Don McIntyre's boat. So Don is the founder and director of the Golden Globe Race, the Ocean Globe Race, the Mini Globe Race, and he participated in the first leg of the Mini Globe Race in Trekker, and they did a Atlantic crossing, and so that
Mini Globe, is that the 5.8?
Yeah, the 580. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So he's got his irons in a lot of fires, and
absolutely.
And he thought he wanted to have a yacht in this race too, and it was a matter of a yacht wasn't available. But then Tindora, which is a Swan 57 Ketch, built in 1978, became available, and he purchased that basically at the start of this year. And basically it was in Breskens and in Holland, and we got the there was a survey on purchase, and they redid the rudder and the pintles because there was some corrosion there. We re-rigged it, and I joined in Breskins in basically April, May, and we put it in the water and brought it down to La Sabre, and we've then had a team of the crew have been working on it, preparing it for the race, and there have been 1,000 things to do. You can imagine, install a water maker, install a Watt&C hydro generator, install flexible solar panels, put on life raft cradles, build bunks, a crash bulkhead up forward, additional bilge pumps. The list goes on and on and on, and I think we had 150 things on the list or whatever, and you eventually whittle it round, or you go superseded, no further action required, or just too hard, can't do that. So we're getting there. So sorry, to answer your question, so Don bought the boat. He had an idea that he was going to participate on leg 3 from Auckland to Punta, but clearly that's not going to happen because he's so busy running the race. Yeah. So he asked me to be skipper. I know him from the 2018 and 2022 Golden Globe races. So when he asked me to do it, I sort of said yes immediately, and here I am. So Don found a boat and has put it in the race, and the crew are all paying to be there, so it's a self-funding type thing. So. And the crew are doing all the work preparing the boat as well. So it's sort of like almost, an owner's cooperative, but Don has facilitated the thing. So he's actually the owner, and he's paying the bills, and people are paying to be on each leg, which is then paying the bills. So it's the same as a lot of the other boats.
Yeah, it's a good model, I think.
Well, it means that average sailors from average yacht clubs, and some of them with not a lot of experience, can participate in a round the world race and sail around Cape Horn. Every boat's got an under 24-year-old on it. So, for example, our under 24 comes from the port we're heading to. So first leg is to Cape Town. So we've got someone from the Cape Town Yacht Club on board. And then, it doesn't necessarily be the Cape Town Yacht Club. It can be from South Africa, but to that destination. Yeah, then we've got a Kiwi joining us for the next leg. Then we've got a Uruguayan youngster joining us for the next, and then a Pom for the last one. So it means that you've always got a young person heading home, and which is great. And those some of them are sponsored, or some of them save up and whatever. And then everyone else, and then is basically people who apply, and you don't necessarily get a spot because you're a good sailor. You've people who have got a good story and can contribute to the costs of going around the world. That's how we do it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's it's cool with Don. You can tell that he's a real enthusiast, and you could just tell. We just came from the press conference now, and he was very, very excited up there, and I do think this he would very much like to be on board one of the boats as well, and doing this himself sometime.
Yeah, that's right. And so he's trusted so I'm skipper. I'll take it around, and I'm grateful to have the job, and it'll be a lot of fun. I think he's got future plans for the boat. So I think his plan is that it is going to be like the mothership for the Mini Globe race. So the Mini Globe race will go around the world, and he'll actually follow it, as like the radio control vessel, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So, and go from port to port, and sort of really have a mobile office in each port, but actually doing it from Explorer. Yeah. So his plan is to the future as well, but I think Explorer would probably also be participating in future Ocean Globe races. Yeah. So let's get this one done. Then we'll see what happens. But I suspect that she will be a campaigner in the future.
Yeah, very very cool. It's this Mini Globe race is you've done both of the GGRs. You're gonna do the OGR. Are you gonna get into the mini one as well?
sailing around the world in 5.8s is for people younger than me. That's a really crazy idea. No, 10, a 10, 11 metre boat's one thing, and obviously going around in a Swan 57 is with a crew of 10 is something else. Yeah. But the mini globe race would be very interesting, I think. But look, the other thing is I'd have to sell my boat Coconut to do that, and maybe I've got some plans for what I want to do in that. So so at the moment, I did the first race, and then in the second one I stopped because my son got married, and so the plan then was to sail to Panama and go through the canal and then go to Australia through the South Pacific. So that's something fun. So I've got that activity to do. Yeah. Cool. And then might even do some sailing around Australia, which would be a bit of fun.
All right.
Nice. So so I don't know that I'm a candidate for the mini globe race, but I know a number of people who are, and that's very, very interesting. Maybe I should be a manager or something.
Maybe. I think we actually got number 59. 59 North. I think we got number 59.
Did we?
I think so. For we haven't no plans as of yet. But
the plan. The plan number 59.
Yeah, or
purchase the plans
or whatever. I'm not quite sure how that. I'm not really sure. But
okay.
We're following that closely. It's an interesting idea. So
that's right. That race I think takes about 15 months, and they go around the world, through the Panama, across the top of Australia, and then round the bottom of Africa, and then back up the Atlantic. So that's interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, no, it's but still the Golden Globe is pretty intense. That too, and how do you think that's going to compare to the OGR? With you're now done 2 GGRs all. It's all you out there all alone, and now you're gonna have to share a boat with a bunch of people. How's that gonna feel?
Be quite nice, really, because it's a bit more normal, and I'm not just because I sail solo around the world doesn't mean I'm antisocial. I actually don't mind people, and so it'll be fun to also to share the experience of astro navigation, and so I'm skipper navigator, so I'll do the navigational training and all that as well, and it's fun. Look, I mean. If you want to go all the way back, I served for 20 years in the Navy, and so that's what I was doing. I was the CO of a number of vessels, and with crews, small crews. So it's almost like what I actually do. It's probably more normally me than solo sailing. I just happen to have done a couple of GGRs.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I think many people believe that a lot of these solo sailors are extremely introverted kind of loners, but that's not really been my experience at all. It's,
I mean, you look at Jean-Luc Vandenheide. He won the 2018 race. He's done a number of solo circumnavigations, but he's the lead singer in a band, for heaven's sake.
Wow. That's a pretty extroverted activity.
At 77, and he's still doing it. So
cool.
So he's a very people person. So solo sailing's a thing, and the GGR is probably a little harder than most because of the no technology means you don't have email and Facebook and contact with families and whatever. It's purely HF radio and whatever. So you do that for 200 or 300 days. That's a chunk out of someone's life, and people aren't used to that. Whereas in the past, that was probably a little bit more normal, but these days, people expect to be in contact, more often. That's it, But so I think that the GGR, the hard part of it is, and that's what some people find quite hard. I think it's actually easy for the sailor because you're busy doing stuff, but for the other side of the family, it's harder, and then it's you thinking about the impact on the other side of the family. You're having fun, but then you know you realise it's a bit selfish, and you know. So I was very fortunate that I had good family support when I did the GGR. So so that side was looked after.
Nice. Yeah, you kind of need that, wouldn't you, to be able to do something like this. Yeah, I'm just feeling that, some of that myself, even with the short kind of relatively short things that we're doing. It's only weeks and at the most months that I've been out. But yeah, it's unusual now. I think it's like one of the last places you can go and be out of touch. Really, it's out to sea, which is.
Well, I stopped in Adelaide for the 2018, but it was 157 days to Adelaide, and then it was I think 174 days from Adelaide to Les Arbres. So so it's quite, a chunk of time. I think the total was 332 days, which makes me slower than Tapio. I think Yachting Monthly humorously said the 1,422-day circumnavigation, but they counted the 3 years I was in Adelaide.
Oh, right.
So I thought it was a little unfair, but then Joshua Slocum took 4 or 5 years, so what the heck?
There you go. Yeah, that's right. But do you like that aspect of being cut off from? Is that something? Because now, if you didn't do a retro race, we could, like on Eastbjorn here, we have so much sat nav now, and we have satellite phones, and we have email, and we have all this stuff. So there is now this option of being connected. But do you enjoy that? Kind of getting the peace and quiet of leaving all that behind?
Yeah, look, I think you very much you go into as a sort of like a zone, and you just become very self-contained, and that's your world, and the time passes.
Quick, there we go.
Yeah, and so you go, I just recall there was some fireworks or something before. Might have been the 2018 GGR, and there was a full moon at the time, and then you're sailing in down towards the equator or whatever, and there's a full moon, and you go, oh, that's a month, and then so you're measuring time in full moons, so in intervals of 28 days, and then you're watching the moon go through the sky every night and move back against the stars, so that you have nights where that are light and light in the evening or light in the morning, and the moon waxes and wanes, and that really becomes a measure of and so you tend to, you don't sort of time sort of irrelevant, other than a sense of you eat in the morning, and you do Meridian Passage, and you take an afternoon sight, and then you get hungry and you have some dinner. Generally I try and wait till after Meridian Passage to have lunch, right? And I have to work out the time of Meridian Passage because it's when the sun's at maximum altitude, and it's a good sight to have. And so you do that every day as a discipline. But I tend to find I'm getting hungrier and hungrier as the thing goes on, and it's actually a struggle to have lunch after Meridian Passage. So what tends to happen is that you may be up at night or whatever. You have some breakfast when it's light, and then if you can survive to Meridian Passage, that's really good. But generally I have lunch before Meridian Passage because I get hungry, and then then I'll have dinner in the evening. The problem is I didn't really have real time, so I left my watch, the ship's clock. It was an old winding clock, so I didn't even have an electric clock. It was an old winding clock, and it was on UTC, so I lived on UTC. So there was no concept of 9 o'clock in the morning. It might have been 2300 Zulu. What does that mean? It means nothing other than if Meridian Passage is at 0500 Zulu, you know, Meridian Passage is in 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and that is the middle of the day. So if I'm having lunch before Meridian Passage, I'm biasing because you can get hungry throughout the day. So if you know, so you're trying to space your meals.
That's right. Oh, that's interesting. Well, living on UTC, it makes sense. You know, there's just that much less calculations doing your site reduction, right?
That's right. There you go. It's all tabulated in UTC, so you know it's very easy to work out your Greenwich hour angle. So it just sort of happens. So now on a boat with 10 people, you know, we carry a sort of like a cocoon of civilization with us, and we need things like time to govern our days. I can't tell the crew of Explorer that lunch is at 0500 Zulu. What does that mean? So we will have our Explorer time, and we will play with that as we need to, because I think it's easy with a group of people. But when you're by yourself, you know, you're just doing the mental arithmetic of what the sort of time is.
Is the routine more important when you're on your own solo, or more important when there's a team, do you think?
I think with the team because there's a lot more people involved, and there's watches, and there's rotations, and there's food to be prepared, and people need to be sleeping when they're off and working when they're on, and standby watch, and you're sailing the boat and all that sort of stuff. So I think we need to be quite disciplined. Whereas when you're there as one person, you know, if I'm tired, I'll have a kip for half an hour. It's not an issue, you know. So, you know, the whole thing about when you're inshore, obviously you're working hard. Got to keep a lookout. Most important thing. So, particularly in the Bay of Biscay or in the Channel or whatever, you're not really leaving the deck for very, very long. But once you're out in the Atlantic, or, you know, South Atlantic, Southern Ocean, or whatever, you know, you're not seeing vessels for weeks. And when you do see them, you actually see them in clusters on a line between here and there. So basically, you're in your little cocoon, sailing around the world. And the boat's pointing in the right direction, going at a reasonable speed. That's quite good. And if you feel a little bit weary, then just have a kip for half an hour or an hour or whatever you want. You know, because it's all about maintaining an even strain. Having something in the tank if it gets, I'm always conscious of resting when you can, and not sitting up all night reading books when I could be asleep, because when there's a storm I might want to draw on that capacity and whatever. I tend to do all my reading sitting up in the companionway, watching the world go by and listening to audio books or cassette tapes or reading up there, and keeping a lookout at the same time, watching the albatross fly by.
That doesn't sound too bad at all. That sounds pretty good time to. Yeah, that's really amazing.
Is there anything that you're not allowed on the OGR that you were allowed on the GGR? Like something personal? I assume audiobooks is not allowed?
No. You can have whatever you like, providing it's on cassette tape. The technology is cassettes, but now you could get the latest band and you put it on a cassette tape and you can take it and play it. It's not a problem. So the medium, and actually what it showed is the medium of cassette tapes are pretty robust. You drag them out of people's sheds and guess what? They still work. They still work.
Amazing.
And the first music I ever bought was a Beatles cassette, and it must have been like 1968, and I think it might have been because I think it was still in dollars, and it was in dollars and cents. It wasn't in pounds, so it's after 1966. And I think it was $5, which was a lot of money when you're a kid. Yeah. When you're a 10-year-old kid, $5 was a lot, because 20 cents might have been pocket money. And I remember buying that, and I think it was rubber salt. No. I can't remember which one it was, but I do remember buying it in Dandenong. So
Do you still have that cassette? Will you bring it along on Explorer?
I don't know. It'd be romantic to say that I did. And I did lose a lot of cassettes going around Cape Horn. And then, so I lost half of them, and then some of them were good. And then I've got some people that have supported me that keep replenishing Coconuts cassettes, and now they've replenished Explorers cassettes. So
Nice.
we've scoured the op shops, and we've got whatever 100 or 200 cassettes, and there's a lot of talking books, and it's all it's quite funny what you like, but it's we've got I think Harry Potter read by Stephen Fry, excellent stuff. In my world, would be listening to Moby Dick, but that's. I think that was like 25 CDs, so on cassettes it's probably a real lot.
That would change the trim of
the boat.
The ballast.
But I don't know that I could inflict Moby Dick on all the crew. I mean, I'm an aficionado of Moby Dick, but I think I'm one of the few that can read it and reread it, or listen and re-listen.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years, to be honest, to get through Moby Dick. It is a challenge.
But as a talking book, it's really good because it's
right.
just there in the background. And if you drift asleep or whatever, you can re-listen to it, whatever. So you might actually take you a while to get through, because you might have to listen to certain chapters a few times because you keep nodding off at the same spot.
Yeah.
So. But Ahab, Starbuck, Flask, and who's the other mate? Forgotten.
Sure.
There you go. I need to refresh it.
Yeah.
I need to reread it.
Nice. It's so that's really cool. I think I love that. That's to bring it all back retro. But as far as media go, you're allowed modern cameras. Is that right? With
in the GGR initially was old school, and I had Super 8 video and 35mm cameras, right, and that's basically all I had for the race. That was it. Now in the 2022 GGR, they relaxed that. Fathom Films were doing a film of the race, and we were given GoPros, right? But that was there, and you'd record it, and then you just save the cards, and when you went past one of the gates, you'd hand them over. So that was a change. Now in this one, they've you can use digital cameras. So even though there's no digital technology allowed, and for entertainment, blah blah blah, basically because of the public interest, they sort of think, look, if we don't capture this, how are we supposed to excite and empower the people to join when they don't know what it is? So we need to be able to get it out there on social media, and images are a powerful thing. So they even allow some satellite equipment purely to get a couple of images off the boats at certain times.
Okay.
So they do that.
Right.
They allow that, but there's nothing coming back. There's nothing coming back. So as far as we're concerned, we're still in 1968 or 1973. But the public have a bit more of a window into it. But Don's pretty hard on it, in that we don't want to make it that it becomes like the Truman Show and whatever, because it will lose the credibility of being a retro race if you can see it like that. So basically, it is just some snippets, the odd picture and a photograph and whatever can go out. Cool. And I do know there's some experimentation of Starlink and getting some video off and whatever, but certainly not on Explorer. And once again, it's only sending stuff off. So as far as the boat's concerned, there's no Kindles, there's no iPhones, there's no computers, there's no laptops. There's, it is, we're using a sextant, we're using tables, and we're listening to cassette player and whatever.
That sounds great.
But people outside can get a view into this with a bit of digital stuff that comes off.
No.
And it's a bit of a sacrifice for the modern world. But we're not there writing Facebook posts all the time. That's where there's no Facebook.
Yeah, I could see both sides of that argument, but yeah, for sure there would be a shame if, I mean, just walking the docks here and looking at all these beautifully restored old swans and full battle ready gear is just something absolutely amazing and beautiful about that, and it would be a shame if the world didn't get to see that. So
I think
of photographs.
I think Don's making some practical concessions that aren't changing the nature of the race. So basically, because we don't want it like the Truman Show, because then it will lose its authenticity as well. And also, we're trying also that when information, when you only see the boat on the tracker and you get the odd text from the boat and you get the an odd picture, then it's building up this adventure in people's minds as well. And then Don holds his daily sessions and goes, well, these boats are over here and these boats are over here and this is the weather system and blah, blah, blah. But he knows all that, but the boats don't. We're all out there trying to get our weather faxes, trying to do our stuff. But here's an interesting image from one of the boats that got dragged off. Even Matesia used to fire film in a canister, with a rubber band, and you can argue and photograph his logbooks and whatever. So in other words, there's always been some method of communication. So we're allowing a bit without ruining the integrity of the race.
As a fan who'll be standing back on shore for this one, I'm pleased that we'll get to follow you guys around with some images and stuff. That'll be really exciting. How do you think it's gonna, with the GGR? It's been the race of attrition, and a lot of boats have had to stop underway and due to repairs and other things. How do you think it's going to play out this time around? How many of the boats do you...
In the OGR?
In the OGR.
Oh, look, I think the OGR is fundamentally different. Firstly, there's four legs. So the first stop is Cape Town. Now, if you want to look at... And we've got, crewed boats. So unless you lose your rig or have a medical emergency, there's no reason why you can't sail to Cape Town. It's only 6 weeks. And in fact, you look at the GGR, a lot of the boats pulled out at Cape Town, and Cape Town is quite, a psychological spot, because if you keep going from Cape Town, you've got to keep going. You can't come back.
Go Indian Ocean.
It's very hard to come back. So particularly for all European-based entries and or Northern Hemisphere-based entries, because most of them are European, or one from America, and they sail over and to do their pre-qual. But there's only in the GGR in the third. There's been a number of Australian entrants, but and it's hard running a campaign from Australia, because you've got to get your boat to the start line.
That's right.
So it's twice as hard. You've got to sail twice around the world to go around the world. So I keep ending up with coconut back in Europe. So when you say, you're going to do another GGR, it's not a matter of doing a GGR. It's a matter of sailing to Europe, doing a GGR and sailing home. It's a double circumnavigation. This is like, and the preparation and the rest that goes with it. So you're talking about, it's there are 4 years between races. Well, one of those years you're racing. So when they say, you got 4 years to prepare, no, you got 3 years to prepare, because one of those years you're racing. And then time goes pretty quick. And the year before, the 6 months before crisis, a year before you should be working on it. If you've got to sail your boat over, there's another 6 months. And then you've got to do all the repairs for that. But anyway, back to your question. No, I think, and I think historically, I don't know what the numbers are, but I think predominantly most of the boats completed it. Whereas the first GGR, 9 entered, 1 finished. Second GGR, 17 started, 18 actually, 5 finished, and me in Chichester. And in the last one, what was it? I can't remember. It was 3, and then 2 in Chichester.
Yeah.
3 GGR, and then Simon, who got line honours, by the way. So Chichester, Simon's got this is the second
line honours on
he stopped and still got line honours, so he did very well. But there were very interesting race, but 3 finished, and 5 including the Chichester ones. All credit to Kirsten for pulling it off, because she did a fantastic race.
That was amazing.
That's a whole different. So I think that the GGR one, you've got the psychological aspect of sailing around the world, and you don't know how to sail around the world till you've sailed around the world. So you've got to be well prepared or pretty strong to be able to do that. And then the boat's got to hold up. And then you've also got to then not have problems of other things like barnacles or lack of water or all those other peripherals. But here it's different, here. And to be honest, if these are big boats, if you needed to pull into port, you can, not that it's allowed, but you could pull into port, solve out the problem, and get to the next thing, ready for the next leg. So the 4 legs breaks it up. I think the fact that you've got crew and a much more capable vessel and that's going faster just makes it different. And so I expect all the boats will finish or pretty well close to it. No reason why not.
Cool, yeah. Also, a lot of the GTR boats have had trouble with their wind vanes.
That's right.
Which is of course crucial
when you're by yourself. That's the most important thing, and sailing on sheet to tiller, can get you home, but to set off around, Sir Robin, did half a circumnavigation on balancing his boat and falling out of bed and fixing it and, whatever. But here we've got a crewed boat. So we're hand steering the boat around the world. We're not allowed to use a wind vane on this.
Is it not allowed to?
No. So you can have, if the boats that have wind vanes, it's purely hydrovanes as the emergency rudder. That's the only reason they're there. They're not using it as a wind vane. You're not allowed to use a wind vane. You actually get penalised, or you've got to demonstrate. So this is hand steered around the world because that's what we're doing. It's a human endeavour. Yeah. Now you might sort of say, well, a wind vane sort of you've got to supervise it and whatever. But I guess it's trying to keep it pure to the original Whitbread things of hand steering a boat around the world.
Yeah, cool. I didn't know that. That's interesting. How is it with the talk a little bit more about the weather forecasting stuff? What are the rules there? You mentioned weather facts.
Yeah.
Would that be your primary? What will be your strategy for weather routing?
Well, firstly, there's no routing. All you can do is get the high seas forecasts. So firstly, you've got a BBC on long wave can get you a certain way down the coast. You got the VHF, then you got the VBC on long wave, then you got weather faxes from Hamburg, still work pretty well down in the North Atlantic, but once you get to the South Atlantic, it's a bit gets a bit patchy, and then Cape Town radio on high frequency will get you around the bottom there, and then you pick up Walloona and Charleville from Australia on HF, and they cover a lot of the Southern Ocean. You get to New Zealand, Radio New Zealand, and then you've got Passage Guardian, which is a private radio station, marine radio station in New Zealand that gets good coverage from New Zealand to the Horn, and then you get a little bit from the AM on the Falklands when you go past there.
Okay.
You can pick that up. It's a little quirky radio station, and then you've got a hole in the, because I think there used to be a station in Chile. I think it's no longer going. I don't know the one in Argentina. New Zealand's no longer transmitting on Weatherfax. So I think Hamburg's one of the few. So between Hamburg, HF radio, your trusty barometer and your barograph over here,
There you go.
and the good old routing charts of or routing charts of avoiding the South Atlantic high and crossing the doldrums on this longitude and don't get stuck in the Bay of Biscay, etc. And then so that's your weather. So you've got to look at your barometer and look at whether the pressure's going up and down, and these boats go a little faster than the GGR boats. So the GGR boats, you tend to set your course and you tend to be stuck a bit with it, whereas these boats, you can do 200 miles a day on a good day. So you're more
Position
able
yourself
to,
a little bit.
if you have the knowledge to do it.
Yeah.
If you have the knowledge to do it.
Yeah, you gotta know what you're doing. That's that's true.
So so the boat speed will be important, and picking the weather, and which is going to be a bit of a lottery, and but you can also ask passing ships. So basically,
Right.
the history of the sea is that you're always allowed to engage with other mariners, and they can basically tell you whatever information they have at their fingertips, because they are an unassociated mariner passing there. And if you say, mate, can you look at Windy and give me the forecast for the next week?
Yeah.
They can do that, because you're just asking a fellow mariner on VHF.
That's
so-
quite cool.
So,
Does that go for your precision as well?
you can ask a position. You can ask a position. To be honest, I don't bother anymore. Having gone around a couple of times, and I do my astro. I know where I am. I'm to my mind, why would I want to know asking where I am? Because surely I would know that. Well, yes, I do. But wouldn't it give you a nice warm feeling? I go, well, I don't need a nice warm feeling. I have a nice warm feeling.
Nice.
And but the weather is really important, and also the time, getting a time check. But to be honest, so these you're allowed digital watches now in this race, in the 68 race. There weren't digital watches, so I just had an old. I had a 1904 chronometer, and I had a 1946 deck watch. And so I'd listen to WWV and WWW on high frequency 10, 15, 20 megahertz at dusk, and pick up my bip, bip, bip time signals every day and rate the watch, and it might be running 15 seconds fast a day or whatever. I'd say, okay, so it's gained 20 seconds and it's been 30 hours since the last time check, so 30 over 24, work it out. And so, 24 over 30 times however many seconds to work out how many seconds a day. And then you do a sight at that time there. So I go, okay, so the site was at 14:15, and then you convert that to Zulu, but I'm already in Zulu, so that's good. And then I go, well, hang on, the watch was 3 minutes 25 fast then, but I'm now 5.5 hours ahead of that, and I'm gaining 10.5 seconds a day, so I need 5.5 hours of 10.5. So I've got to go interpolate that in it's either 2 seconds or 3 seconds. I can't think at the moment. And you add that, or subtract it. Sorry, if your watch is fast.
And then it's time for lunch and everything else.
Well, that's right. If you haven't had lunch yet.
Make it even more tough. Yeah.
So time is a thing, but to be honest with you, I got time signals from Hawaii and California all the way around the world every evening without fail, they boom in on HF. You know, people go, oh, is it still there? Yeah. Just call up. Just call up. Well, it's there are time signals on 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 megs. The ones that are the best one is 15 megs, but occasionally 10 megs might be better. And 10 and 15 megs will get you around the world. And I picked it up. There would be never a day that I wouldn't pick it up. And if ever I didn't pick it up, it's generally because I didn't do it for some reason that it's not that I forgot, but whatever. And I go, oh shit, 2 days. Okay, so, but then I'd be extrapolating anyway. So I knew my deck watch error. You know, if it was running at 20 seconds a day fast, I'd do another check, 20 seconds a day, 20 seconds a day. Then I'd look at it perhaps over the last week and do the average. So because rather than because you're also winding it at the same time each day. Because so there's the issue of temperature and how much it's moving, and it's laying flat in a little box and whatever. So it's so that the long-term average needs to be that, and you need to wind it so it's the same level of tension on the spring and all that stuff.
Do you like go into kind of washing your hands beforehand, so before you wind it, so you remove anything off? And then
No. It's pretty robust. It's in a little box, and I pull it out, and it's got a ratchet on the thing, and just do that, wind it up, and so it's got a little indicator down round to. Does it go to 2 days or 1 day? I can't remember. I think it goes to 48 hours, but in general, I'll do it at 24, and I'll generally do it, like at meridian passage. That's the discipline of winding the watch, so it gets done, at the same time every day.
Used to be when the day changed, right? Back in the old days of sailing, wasn't that? Meridian passage, or the opposite. Don't know. Sounds like a good story. I'd keep with that. Patrick O'Brien taught me that one. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta say, it's super cool how these races kind of keep these things alive and give people like yourself a great opportunity to teach other people in the new generation, and kind of having these things around. That's because we all love celestial navigation as well, and we do at least a couple of sites on every passage, and we just love all of that stuff, and it's so great to see it now being. Yeah, because it would disappear, right? If somebody didn't.
And there's also a discipline. There's a whole discipline that goes with it. So for example, we've got a little deck log, right? So they write down every hour what the average course steered is, and they'll write down the log reading every hour. They write it down. And when they come down, they transfer it into the log, and any things they write in the log. And then we then have another notebook, which is the Astro notebook. So we go up there and we take a fix. So the first thing is what was the time? What did we observe? We write down the altitude. We check the index error. We write down the log reading so we can compare the log reading to the last fix, and we take a depth if we're on the continental shelf. So we've got meridian passage, and we've got the depth, and we've got the distance from the last fix. So last fix there's my DR. That's where the log says I was. Here's meridian passage or whatever my sun side is. The depth is that, so I've got my DR there, I've got an EP there, but the depth indicates I might be a bit further over there. So you've got these multiple lines, and then you've got the tidal stream doing this or this in the channel and whatever. So so we're doing all this, but they're learning, so we, so that, and then, so, I go, time, so, I write down the time, I write down the angle, right? Then I'll look at the clock again, and the time will have advanced about 30 to 45 seconds from when I wrote it down. So I'll look at the watch again, and if it's 30 to 45 seconds, I give it a tick. I haven't made a blunder. Then I read back that and look at the sextant to make sure. So if it was 42 degrees 59, you haven't written 43 59 because it was almost at 43. So you got to get rid of those little blunders. So you do a little tick, and then you get the log. You do that, and you get the depth if you've got it. You do that, and then and what's the average course we've been doing? Since whatever. Okay, write that down. So then you go down. Then you transfer that into the logbook. You write down the time. That whatever. Then you'd have another check. Give it a tick. Right. So get rid of the transcription errors. Then get that whatever. Yeah. So then, for example, you've got the sextant altitude, and you're going to say, well, there's going to be index error, whatever, add 2, dip minus 2.5, semi-diameter and refraction, 15.3. So you work it all the way through, and then I'll go 2 minus 2.5 plus 15.3 is 14.8. 14.8 on that is that, tick. So it's self-checking as you go.
Good idea. Yeah.
Little ticks. I have these little ticks everywhere.
We love that, and that's what we've been discussing recently about kind of doing maintenance on board and things. And sometimes your first reaction, the first leak you find, maybe the only leak, but actually it's really good to prove yourself wrong, and that's where your little ticks and stuff come into it, right? Like you're like, have I made a mistake at this stage, and like processing it properly.
Oh, that's right. So if I do a site and whatever, generally it's self-checking and there's no errors. But let's say 1% of the time, 2% of the time, I'll do that and I'll go, straight away, the intercept, you've got, sorry, I'll just turn this off.
That's right. If it's important,
no.
You can.
No, I don't.
It's no problem.
So, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Celestial
intercept,
navigation.
Said,
Double
you're
checking.
1% out if you're 1% out sort of thing.
1%, 2% of the time I might have made an error. And it will be, so if I've made an error, what would it generally be? I forgot to do semi-diameter and refraction correction. I've done this thing 1,000 times and whatever. What's that? Idiot.
Those kind of routine things were just like there's a ton
Stupid.
of things that you need to. Each little step might not be super difficult, but you all got to do it in the right.
But then
sequence and everything.
classically, so you've got the Greenwich hour angle, you've got the increment, whatever. You choose your longitude, your local hour angle, blah. You got your chosen latitude. The next common error would be looking
at
at
the wrong star.
Looking at the tables wrong so you open up the if you're using rapid site reduction tables or NP401, you open them up and you've got latitude, local hour angle, declination. Get here, you write the things down, whatever. You've got some figures and you go, doesn't look right, and you go to the page, whatever, and they're not that, and you have no idea where these ones came from. What happened? Was I listening to Harry Potter at the time and I just wrote that?
Your cassette tape is
where did that even come from? But that generally takes me about 2 seconds to pick up, idiot. So then I just put line. So you never cross it, never rub out. I just put a neat little line through it, and I just then do it there. It's always there. And then cool. And you've got this in the notebook, this in the calculation book, so it's not written on the side of the chart, it's not written on a scrap of paper. You can get any site that we've taken this year, and I can show you the raw observation, I can show you the stuff in the book, I can show you the calculation, I can show you the fix. It's just there because it's just a discipline of whatever. Because then you go, well, what was your index error, 6 months ago? Well, there it is there,
It's quite nice.
So it's just a discipline. It's a discipline.
Yeah, and it's very cool because this just the experience. You get so much more involved in the voyage because you actually have to be aware of the stars and the sky and, as you say, the depth and the tides.
And you bring someone into that process. So I want everyone doing the same thing. Now, if someone has their favourite form with their favourite layout, dig out, do whatever. I mean, but when I teach them, I'm just going to teach them, well, this is time in this column, and this is angle in this column, and this is local hour angle in this column, and this is your intercept in this column. And we just do it, divide and conquer. So the problem with, I think, the difficulty of Celestial is people make it too complex. You say, oh, right, let's talk about local hour angles. No, leave that. Talk about index error and simple stuff. So talk about time, index, whatever. And then there's this, we're going to do a bit of magic and make up a longitude to give ourselves a whole degree of LHA because the tables are only tabulated in whole degrees. Yeah. So it's that simple, really. It's just, we're just following the table. Yeah. So when I did my pre-qual on coconut, I was a bit rusty. All right, I got the almanac out. I went. I didn't have the site reduction table, so I had Norrie's table. So I had to use it doing logs of trigonometric functions. Now, so now cos A equals cos B cos C plus sine, whatever it is, I forget now. You go, okay, so you got to, bar logarithms. So I've got bar 2 of that. How do I handle bar logarithms? Let me think about that. That's minus that plus that. So you're going back to high school. So that first site probably took me like an hour. I finally got it out. Right, okay, I found the spherical cos rule written somewhere. Might have even been in Norrie's bloody forward. Right. And then, okay, I've got that now. Right. And then, and then you go, right, so how am I going to handle southern latitudes? I'm going to have a sign convention here, plus east minus west or plus and minus and whatever. So you're trying to make sure that you because that then becomes the thing. And you start to do that and you get very quickly up to speed on that. But that's a bit more work using logs of trigonometric functions.
That's true. It sounds like, it really does sound like you enjoy the process of site reduction, though. Or do you find yourself missing a GPS out there sometimes?
No. I think if you're watching a screen and you could see, your position ticking over, it would make South Africa seem a very long way away, and it was giving you distances to run, ticking down every, 6,183, 6,182.9. Oh God! People would go crazy, but we actually go. All people want to know is what's the day's run. So I'll tell you, what's really neat is actually having a little impeller that gives you a speed. You normally have a Walker trailing log that you take your log reading and you go, okay, I've done 110 miles today or whatever it might be. But actually having a speed in the cockpit, I go, whoa, this is really, it's just a little impeller going like that. But I think it's really modern.
That was cool.
And a wind angle. Normally I've just got the thing on the top of the mast until bloody an albatross knocked it off New Zealand, and then I didn't have anything. I had a bloody bit of ribbon on the backstay. But now I've got relative wind, and I've actually got a little magnifier when we're close hauling. Whoa! All of a sudden, it actually shows me I'm a bit lazy and don't pay attention some of the time. It's there in your face.
Is that an analog instrument? Are there any rules on the? Oh, we got some visitors, I think. Let's just check who that is.
Yeah. Look, no. Providing you don't have GPS, you're allowed to use an impeller log. If there's an impeller log on a BNG display, they don't care about that because you're still using an impeller log. It doesn't matter.
The signal's analog.
And the problem is to try and get an old dial indicator's pretty hard these days.
Yeah, it is.
Or you get an electronic one that simulates that, which is still digital. It's a digital display of an analog meter. You go.
That is what it is. Because we just bought new instruments for this boat, and if you want analog instruments, it is a digital signal that's then converted, to it's that's a little bit dumb. So yeah.
So yeah, we're not crazy about the, there's also some other concessions. For example, you're allowed to use solar for the environment. Yeah. Otherwise, people are going to be burning diesel. You're allowed to have a wind generator. You're allowed to have a hydro generator. You're allowed to use solar. And on coconut, I went around the world just on solar, 100% solar. That's all it was.
Oh, cool.
And probably on all but a couple of days, I was at 100% by the end of the day.
Not bad.
I wasn't using much power.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to use an autopilot. They're the things
There you
that
go.
chew the
They
power.
need a lot of power. And
So you're using a wind vane. So that's a really good reason to use a wind vane, because you're not
that's
chewing
right. Yeah.
chewing through 5 or 10 amps or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's
you know.
quite hungry. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I think we've
I think everyone's
had
gone
you
to sleep.
for an hour, and it's
No, super interesting. No, thank you
it's
very
been
much.
great, but we are very conscious of that you're.
I'm getting out of
busy.
work at the moment.
Busy man, yeah. You have a lot to do, and safety inspections coming up. So
In 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah. It's only a remedial. There's only a few things on the list,
Okay.
and
That's good.
it's all good. We've just got to make sure all the people can find their life rafts and life jackets and whistles and stuff.
Oh.
All that.
But the team is doing that, right? They're doing that now.
They're doing that. They've done the. Terry's over there. Terry, get the ship ready for sea. Well, that's what he's doing.
So that's another great reason why it might be good to have a crew sometime. You can
Delegation.
delegate.
I love delegation and empowerment and giving the people the responsibility, and they come to me and ask a question. I go, oh yeah, this, that, and the other, or no, you go and work that out. I'm not making that decision. So all of a sudden we got guys doing stuff now that they weren't doing, a week or two ago, because I'm not going to. It's not that I'm being a prick or being lazy, but I want them to solve the problem. So let's hang up those bags, or let's do this, or let's whatever. But different people do things differently, and also you've got to then put up with the solution that's delivered. And sometimes you go, well, I would have done it that way, and sometimes we might have to change it, or I'm just going to have to live with it because that's what I asked for and that's what I got.
Yeah.
So
It's well, I think that's great. I think it's what we talked about just before we started recording is that I think it should be the goal of every leader to make himself redundant. So
I'm redundant.
that seems like we're here hanging out, and
20 years I'm going to be dead, so I'm going to be ultimately redundant. So
you gotta build up the rest of the crew to and hand over the torch of this kind of racing, and that's really cool. All right,
Cheers, August.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Adam.
much. This was
Cheers.
great, and so good luck with your safety inspection, and we'll see you around. We'll be cheering for you guys. All the
good
way.
on you, Explorer. Support Explorer.
See you here next year.
We will. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Big thanks again to Forbes Horton Yachts for sponsoring this episode of the show. If you want to buy or sell your dream boat, go to ForbesYachts.com. That's FORBES, ForbesYachts.com. Thanks also to AG1 for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. To get your free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase, go to drinkag1.com/onthewind. That's drinkalphagolf1.com/onthewind. On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 North and hosted by me, Andy Schell, and also by Nikki Henderson, August Sandberg, Emma Garshagen, and occasionally Ben Doer. The show is mixed and produced in Frederick, Maryland by Lee Cumberland. Ads are read by us, the hosts, and occasionally by 59 North's bosun Adam Brown and podcast producer Lee Cumberland. Episode artwork and website show notes are done by Laura Parent in San Francisco. The intro theme music is composed and performed by former podcast guest, musician, and sailor Cameron Dale, while the outro music you're hearing now is, of course, by our friends in Bergen, the Stormweather Shanty Choir. We love hearing from our fans, so send your questions and comments to holdfast@59-north.com, and please do us a favor and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, hold fast.
I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time. But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone.
Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke, it was no joke, for my whole bloody gear was gone.
As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said,
last time you was paid up with me, you talked up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more.
Once more, once more, to go to sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more.
sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars. And oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore.
Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore.
Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any whores. But get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more.
No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more.